You see, there are 5 major boxes a phone has to check in order for it to be a great phone. And the Ultra, well, it just about checks all those 5 boxes. But there are also some little things that aren't that major to make it to the top 5, but are just as important. Well, the Ultra also does pretty well in those little things, but there are 2 major little things holding it back. Let me show you what I mean. The first of those 5 boxes is design. This has this psychedelic finish on the rear, and if you run your fingers through, you can actually feel the texture. So it does look cool as well as feel cool. The sides of the back of the phone curve into the phone's pretty thin frame, and so does the phone's screen. The curvature isn't that dramatic, so it does feel rather smooth and just sits right in your palm. I like how it looks and feels, no doubt, but I still prefer the camera layout of the 020 to this. It just looks better in my opinion. Oh, by the way, I will be testing and reviewing the 020, so if you want to see that, you should definitely subscribe. Overall though, I think this phone checks the design box. It feels good and looks good. And you can say that about the display as well. It's a big one. 6.8 inches, 1080p resolution, 120Hz refresh rate, and an AMOLED panel. That's like the 3 most important display specs to get right, and this checks those boxes. There are other smaller things though, like Gorilla Glass protection. This doesn't have that. HDR10, this has that. It also has an always-on display, and when you pair that with the live wallpapers, the animations are just immaculate. I was hoping we would get some edge functions because of that curved screen, but I really couldn't find anything. Overall, it's smooth, it looks good, and that curve on the display makes it look even better. When the Note 12 VIP launched, I complained about the lack of a 5G chipset. Not necessarily because of 5G, but really because of the chipset that would come with 5G. It looks like they were saving the better chipset for the Zero Ultra. We have a Dimensity 920 chipset inside of the Ultra, and that brings support for 4K video recording, Wi-Fi 6, boosted gaming performance, and a couple other features. It's also a 6nm chipset, so should be highly efficient, which means better performance and less power consumption. For its GPU, it's the ARM Mali G68MC4. It was released in 2021 and boasts the performance and features required to play all the latest mobile games. Now, I'm not much of a mobile gamer, but I had no issues playing my favorite games. The 920 also brings along video encoding and playback at 4K 30 frames per second, so that means you can edit and watch 4K videos on the Ultra. Yes, this also applies to YouTube. The 920 also brings support for dual 5G SIMs, so on the Ultra there is dual SIM support and they can be 5G SIMs. The Ultra comes with 8GB of RAM and up to 5GB of virtual RAM. That's enough RAM for most people, I would think. You can have multiple apps open at the same time and face no issues. This phone felt really snappy and buttery smooth. It also has up to 256GB of storage, but sadly, there's no support for a micro SD card. And now, probably the most anticipated moment, the cameras. This has a 200 megapixel main camera, and I'm just going to go straight to showing you photo samples. By default, it would shoot 12 megapixel photos, and although not as sharp, it's pretty decent in brighter lighting conditions. The ultra-wide camera though is way softer, as typical with ultra-wide cameras, and also doesn't match the colors of the main sensor. But when you switch to that 200 megapixel mode, wow, I was really impressed by the amount of detail. The images looked so crisp and colorful, especially when taking pictures of plants. I mean, you would have to watch this video in 4K to get a glimpse of the actual quality. And with that quality, you get huge file sizes. I was also impressed with night mode shots. These are definitely the best I've seen from the brand. I think that's due to that bigger sensor. The selfies though are passable with good lighting. Colors look nice, but the images are on the softer side, so not as impressive. As for video, it does shoot up to 4K thanks to the new Dimensity 920, and yeah, I was also impressed with the video quality on here. It doesn't have any image stabilization at 4K, that's only available at 1080p, but I want you to tell me your overall thoughts on the photos and videos of the Infinix Zero Ultra. The fifth box is battery. Now, there are two ways to check this box. You either go with an average milliamp hour and some ridiculous fast charging, or you go with some really big milliamp hour and some average fast charging. They went with the first option and ultraed it. It has a pretty average 4500 milliamp hour cell and a whopping 180 watt thunder charger. It's ridiculous how fast this phone charges. Infinix says it goes from 0 to 100 in 12 minutes, but really it's under 20 minutes. And that's still crazy. But as far as actual battery life goes, this is pretty average. You could kill this phone by the middle of the day, but it's still really nice to have that peace of mind knowing that you could plug in your phone and in 10-15 minutes you have enough battery for the rest of the day. And the best part is the thunder charger is included in the box. I'm looking at you, Samsung. Now, of course, just like the Note 12 VIP, there are safety measures in place to make sure that charging is done safely. While I was fast charging this, it did not get hot, so you don't have to worry about your phone exploding. So you're probably wondering, what is the problem then? Well, like I said, it's in the little things. First, I would say it does some little things really well, like how you get so much stuff included in the box, meaning you pay for the phone and nothing else. We also have dual speakers on here and they do a pretty decent job. We also have an in-display fingerprint reader. Might not be as fast as a physical one, but it's fast enough and gives the phone a more premium touch. The haptics of this phone as well are pretty decent. I mean, you buy this phone and you also have the chance to win an NFT. That's cool, I guess. But there are also some not so great little things, like the lack of Gorilla Glass protection for the screen, or the absence of an IP rating. There is no expandable storage. That was a shocker. The headphone jack is gone. I mean, they do still give you a USB-C headphone and an adapter, but it's still gone. But really, no one would not buy a phone because of all these small things missing. But these are the two big hitters. Number one, software. Well, first off, this is running on Android 12. Why isn't it running on Android 13? Now, it's running on the new XOS 12, yes, but I would have liked to see Android 13 out of the box. But what do we get with XOS 12? A redesign. A swipe from the right brings down the control panel, and a swipe from the left brings down your notifications. Now, of course, that is not new, but it does look new. The icons have been made smaller. There are also some new wallpapers. We still have all the same XOS features. Folax, I believe, now works offline, but my main problem is the lack of major OS updates. And that right there is the first major little problem. If you're going to be spending so much on a phone, if you're going to be keeping your phone for years, it would be nice to get these updates for at least a couple years. I mean, the Ultra is pretty good hardware-wise. Now, they just have to figure out the software bit, sort out the updates, and suddenly the phones have no real issues. Well, what's the second problem? Well, it's not really a problem, but it could be a problem. And that's the price. This costs about 380,000 Naira. And it goes up to 400k, I believe. Now, it's not exactly their fault because, you know, there are other dollar-related issues. But at that price, it's going to be a tough sell. It's going up against old flagships. That might pose a problem for the Ultra. Overall, though, I'm generally pleased with what they did with the Ultra. I mean, that main camera, the ridiculous fast charging, that display, that is just impeccable. But they just have to give us more years of software updates. And yeah, this phone would have been perfect. But I'm still excited to see what they do with the next generation of the Ultra. But for now, those are just my thoughts on the Zero Ultra. Do make sure to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.